Good morning. This is Robert Goodman here on Positive Strokes, and I'm so blessed to have you a part of my recovery this morning. And yesterday was Father's Day. I know a lot of fathers had a blessed Sunday. I know a lot of you enjoyed the company of your children and how they blessed you. And those that are in recovery, that you're starting out in your recovery journey, I know that Father's Day is a sore spot for you. And the blessing is that you have chosen recovery. You chose to do what you need to do for yourself. And these Father's Day that you've experienced in the past will change to something more brighter and more beautiful in your life. Just remember, one day at a time, one situation at a time, and things will get better in time. So today I want to talk about money and prestige can divert us from our primary purpose of being the best who we are, of living our best lives. And I want to share some things about my story, my point of view, and what I thought was important at that time in my life. As you know, that I was brought up poor, and I shared that one of our meals was pancakes, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I mean, we was getting the rations from the government at the time. There was military rations that they was giving out to families that needed food, and I've experienced that type of lifestyle. But as trauma and situations happened in my life, caused me to be out there on my own, and I did whatever it took, not caring about nobody else's situation, so I would not live poor. It made me cold hearted, tunnel vision, only looking one way to achieve enough money to live my life better than I grew up. I stepped on a lot of people. I hurt a lot of people to live a lifestyle that I lived. We're not talking about my addiction because my addiction is intertwined with this situation. But what I want to address is how much I thought that money and prestige and power was more important than anything else. It's the reason why is because I lived being poor, and I was ashamed of that as a human being, to be looked down upon, to not do what everybody else was doing, not able to. And I carried myself in a certain way to hide that pain, to hide that person that I was. And what I would do is make myself look more than who I was because I was ashamed of my situation. So I presented myself in this false way. And in my recovery, I learned that I did more harm to myself than good. I did more harm to myself than good. And as I was in my active addiction in illegal business of living my life, I got to the point where I was spending anywhere from $3,000 to $5,000 a day without no issues, without no problems. I lived a lifestyle that I kept enough dope to overdose 50 times. I lived my life like I was the king of the hill. But I never repaired the issue that started me down that path. I presented myself in such a certain way that I literally thought was the right thing for me. I thought that people looked up to me because I had money. They respected me because I had the bag. But it wasn't that. It's that they wanted something that I had. They didn't care about me. But I thought that the money and the prestige of the situation would make people look at me like I'm somebody, that I do belong. But in all reality, this was a false narrative that I created for myself because I never addressed the problems and the situations of the past. I found out that because I had more, I didn't have real connections with people because people wanted to connect with me because they wanted something from me, or people just accepted me because of what I had. It didn't mean that they liked me genuinely. They just accepted me because of what I had, because I had some power that I could hurt them in some form or fashion. I realized that money is only good for goods and services. It doesn't make me who I am. And how I can make myself better is I need to address the issues of me, my problems, my issues. Yes, I knew in my active addiction that I false blame on everybody else. It was everybody else's fault. And it gave me justification to treat people badly and to harm them and to do things to them to make myself look good, to make myself look like I'm powerful, look like I'm in control, I'm handling the situation. But actually, I'm destroying the person who I am, the compassionate person, the caring person, the understanding person. I'm destroying that person that's built within inside me. And what's happening is that I am not being the person who I truly am or want to be. I move away from that because I'm not allowing myself to learn from my own mistakes and grow. It's easy to point the blame on everybody else, but it's hard to look at the faults that Robert has done to himself. Yes, I was hurt deeply. Yes, I was traumatized. Yes, people did some undespicable things towards me. But what's more important is I did a lot of damage to myself by not able to work on Robert. That's the problem. I did not work on myself until I came into recovery. Recovery taught me to look at myself, to look at my past behaviors, to own up to the mistakes that I've done in the past, to look at myself. And when I look at myself in this manner, I learn. Learn what? I learned about who the hell I was and how I could change my behavior. Recovery taught me that, am I treating this person in the right manner? Or as I'm using them as a punching bag to do what I want to do so I can live and do the things that I want to do. And I use and abuse this person. Am I that person? When I had to look at myself honestly in this manner, I didn't like who I was. I truly didn't, because I understood that I had no love or respect for nobody but myself. And that's looking at myself honestly. Recovery taught me that I must do this, face my own fears, my own situations of who I am, so I can get better. To understand that you are so imperfect. And it comes back to what I always share. You without sin cast the first stone. So how can you sit up and judge someone else? But the interesting thing is when I got a pocket full of money and I'm feeling like I'm powerful, then all of a sudden I present myself knowing in all. I present myself to be this person that I want to be. Present myself. Present myself that I have this power, that I can do this and I can do that. But it's like a balloon. I'm filling it up with hot air. And then when I put myself all the way out there, if the money leaves, then I have no more power. I feel ashamed. I feel less than, because I put up a false narrative of myself and I no longer can live up to this vision that I put up of myself. And the truth is coming out. Recovery taught me that money is for goods and services, the things that we need and want. That's it. Money cannot make you happy. Remember when the stock market fell and men and women were jumping out of windows, killing themselves because they couldn't see themselves living a life without money, to being poor, because they created themselves in the such vast way with their money to present themselves a certain way that they were not genuine. This is something that they was living and being of themselves because they had money. And when that was taken away, their identity got taken away, because this is the identity that they choose to make of themselves. It wasn't the real person. They created a false narrative of themselves. You ever watch the news and you hear, well, this person did this unthinkable thing, but he gave money to this charity. He done this and he done that and he done this, but he did this. And we don't understand how this happened, because he created a false narrative of himself. And when that world crumbled, the true person came out. And it was known. Recovery taught me I don't have to create a false narrative of myself. I don't have to be ashamed that I was brought up poor. I don't have to be ashamed that in my act of addiction, I lived the life of Riley. Not on a great standards like a great rich person, but a person that didn't have to worry about paying bills and living the next day worrying about where he's going to get his next meal. I lived and ate good for 25 years in my active addiction. For 15 years in my addiction, I experienced homelessness and every bad thing that you can think of. And I was right back to when I was growing up being poor again. So I got an opportunity, I call it, to see myself when I was ashamed of being poor and then I was good. And the false narrative that I created for myself because I was so ashamed of my past that I created this narrative to make myself look more than who I was, what I was, and the person that I was. Do you do that? Present yourself up with a false narrative to make yourself look good to people? Does money control you to be the person that you are? I know it did for me in my active addiction, but in recovery, recovery gave me back who I was, the person I wanted to stand tall and be that person, regardless of what anybody thinks of me, that I'm good with myself of being the person that I am. And the person that recovery taught me to be is I have no control over anybody else but Robert if I pay attention to Robert. So I can give information, but I can't make a person live it there in their lives. They have a right to make a good decision or a bad decision, just like I am. It's their choice to choose how they want to live their lives. For me living my best life is facing my fears. For me, living my best life is being who I am every day. For me to be living my best life is to accept that people are going to make bad choices and choose their own walk. And I don't have to agree with their walk, but I don't have to stop loving them. I just don't agree with your walk, so I don't do what you do. And that's okay. I am not God. I cannot change a person's behavior. Oh, I got money. Tell you a story. I'm gonna tell you a story. I was working for a gentleman. He was worth, I don't know, I think it was 150, 200. I don't really remember because it's been a while, long time ago. And I was head of security. And he said to me one day, he said, "Robert," he says, "I don't know if my wife loves me. I don't know if my kids love me." He said, because they never wanted for anything. They can always complaining about something, but I don't know if they truly love me or they just love the money that I can give them, the lifestyle that I can give. So I thought about it for like about 15 minutes, and then I said, you know what you can do? Cut their money in half and see who does the most complaining and see who does it. I said, see what happens. And I just went along about my way and did my job. And he came back to me like about 3 days after that, and he said, "You know what?" He said, "I did exactly what you suggested. I really did it." And he says, "The only persons that complained so much was my children." He said, "But my wife didn't complain about nothing." And I said, well, why don't you ask how they feel about your behavior that you've changed their situation? And he said his wife didn't care, that she was happy, she was good, that she doesn't need all that. Her life was full. She was at peace. She says the money doesn't make her happy. Being with him makes her happy. Now his children complained that they was cramping their style. They had things going on. It's hurting them. Why are you gonna treat me this manner? I'm your child, and on and on and on. So I said, well, I said, how you feel about that? He said, well, that made me mad. He said, I'm gonna give each of my children $1 million, and they're gonna have to create their own business with that $1 million. And in 5 years, they got to show a profit. He said, and if they can't do that, if they can't find their way to do in that manner, he says, then I'm cutting them all the way off. Wow. I wish somebody give me $1 million. Wow. I could do a lot with $1 million and make a profit. But what the thing I'm trying to express, it's not money. We all need human connection. We all need to belong. We all feel connected. And when we're not connected in the right way, money and prestige to connect us to a false narrative of the person that we're presenting ourselves to be. But we're really striving to get back to being the person that we truly are. But we're not doing it in the right manner. We're using things to get us there. We're creating a false narrative. That's why we keep doing the same thing, expecting different results, because we're stubborn. I was stubborn. I stayed in active addiction for 40 years. You can't get no stubborn than that. You can't get no hard headed than that. But I had to get beat up so much where I was desperate to find a new way of living. So ask yourself, how much pain do you have to go through to change your behavior to find a new way to live your best life, or to be the person that you so want to be connected back to? You want to be that person. In my recovery, I learned that I can't change the past, but what I can do is build the relationship from today on. I need to change my behavior. You know, I'm gonna share this. A person that I cared about, our relationship was strained, strained because of things that I've said and the things they've done. Right? And they come to me and they say, we're good. But then in a random situation, they're projecting the same behavior that they did with me before. So we're not good. Your actions tell me we're not good. by what comes out of your mouth. The Bible says that the tongue is a powerful thing. It can bless you in one moment and it can curse you in another. The tongue is a very powerful thing. And I realized it as soon as it happened. Why? Because I've changed my behavior. I can see the truth because I'm paying attention. I'm being authentic with myself. And by me being authentic with myself, then I can see the false things people say and do. But I have wisdom and understanding that I don't have to address it. As long as I can see it, I know who they are. I don't have to try to change their behavior, thinking that I'm going to share something with them that's going to make this big change in their lives. I understood it took me 40 years to change my behavior from addiction to recovery. I had to make that decision to change. So a person has to make a decision to change their behavior. I have no control over that, but I have control over how I take their information or perceive what they say to me. And when I see and look at what they say and the point they're trying to make or trying to hurt or try to show that they have some type of power, then they're telling me who they are. And I don't have no animosity or feelings. This is the way you choose to live your life. So if it's good for you, it's good for me. But it doesn't mean that I'm going to walk the same walk that you walk because I know it's not good for me. It's not my job to tell you what's good for you. It's your job to find out what's the best course of action for yourself, for your life, to make your life better so you can live your best life. I know that I need to work on myself every day because it's easy to fall back to the same type of attitude and the same type of way that I do things because I'm a creature of habit. We all are. And in order for my life to get better, I must change who I am and how I look at things. Because it doesn't mean that the way I used to look at things, I must have looked at it in the wrong way. And if I can't own up to my own mistakes, if I can't learn to correct myself, I don't get better. I stay exactly where I'm at. And then I don't understand why everybody else's life is getting better and they're moving forward in their lives and I'm still stuck because I'm not willing to change. And that's what kept me in my active addiction and living my life the way I did for 40 years. So by me accepting that I'm an imperfect person, by accepting that I do make mistakes, that accept that I need to change my behavior and not be ashamed about it because we all make mistakes, then I don't feel bad anymore. I don't feel upset. I don't feel that you have more than I do and I feel ashamed. I don't feel like that. I like who I am today. It's okay that I don't have, but I'm working to get there where I have more. But money is not my happiness. It's just goods and services so I can live comfortably. But I must use wisdom and understanding on the small things so when I do have money again, that I'm able to act in the proper manner and not let money cause me to give a false narrative of myself, to present myself in a certain way so I can get the attention that I so desperately want, false attention, because I have money. And remember, when I had money and dope, people treated me different. I hope what I shared today makes you think that money, prestige, will divert you from your primary purpose of living your best life if you don't understand that money is good for goods and services and that's it. Money will not make you happy. But if you want to control people because you have money or you have something over them, you're living a false narrative with a false course of action that's going to cause a negative result. Sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly, but it will materialize eventually. This is Robert Goodman for Positive Strokes. I hope what I shared today gives you some insight on money, property, and prestige. Can divert us from our primary purpose of staying clean and sober. To all you fathers, once again, I must say I'm wishing y'all, and I know that y'all had a great day with your family and your loved ones. And remember, children, if one of the parents took the job as father, you are truly blessed because it takes a special person to handle two roles instead of one. You have a great and wonderful day.